Hello, welcome back to another episode of the IU Film Room. This is Tony Adranya at Coach Adranya on Twitter. I want to thank you for the kind words on the first few breakdowns here. Back at it again today, breaking down IU Portland State from Saturday afternoon. Overall, wasn't IU's best game just from an execution, from a defensive standpoint. A lot to clean up. They were very good on the glass, did some good things, did some poor things, and we're going to break all that down here. So to start, I like to see what teams run their first offensive set coming out of the gate because it kind of shows you how they want to assert their will throughout the game. This first set here from IU looked like IU tried to go with a high-low with Joey Brunk and Trace Jackson Davis. With the set that they run a little clear out. Joey ends up with the ball in the high post. He looks for Trace Jackson in a high-low situation, doesn't get it. Finds Justin Smith for a nice cut, but Smith doesn't convert, as we'll see here. So we see Joey catch it. He's going to run a dribble handoff, and then he's coming back around here to catch the ball. We see him catch. We see Trace got his man in front of him, so he's trying to go high-low. Joey, really the only option he's got here if he wants to get the ball to Trace is try to lob over this guy here, have Trace catch it and lay it up. He thinks better of it. The number 30 comes to help. Justin Smith does a nice job of seeing him turn his back. He gets the ball. Unfortunately, doesn't score two. So going from a high-low situation to start the game, that shows me that Archie really wanted to dominate inside. He knew Indiana had a size advantage. And we'll look at kind of how I didn't think IU did as good of a job as they could have sometimes against what Portland State was doing on the defensive end. But we'll dive into that later. The next play we're going to dive into here is Portland State ran a press for the majority of the game on the defensive end, and I actually think this press hurt them. It didn't give IU any issues, and it actually helped IU kind of turn their transition game up a little bit, had a lot of numbers advantages. I want to show you this one here because IU does a really nice job against the press. They take two dribbles throughout the whole press and end up with a layup. And those dribbles were effective dribbles. They weren't pointless dribbles trying to dribble through a press. That can always get you in trouble with guys coming from behind for a back tap. Phinisee does a really nice job here of cutting. So these guys are going to trap. This defender's job is to kind of play two. He's trying to force Al Durham into making a poor decision, and he's trying to take away that next pass. So as you can see, Al Durham's kind of looking at Race here. This guy is trying to play two, but really ultimately he doesn't want this ball to go to Phinisee. Al Durham does a nice job of kind of looking him off. Phinisee catches in the middle floor. Now you got the ball in the middle of the floor with your best ball handler. You got three defenders now behind the ball, and that gives IU a numbers advantage. As we see, Joey Brunk gets the ball, misses a layup, but gets a nice little tap in, and 2 easy points for IU from a pretty ineffective Portland State press. Next clip here is one on the defensive end, a little bit of a breakdown for IU, and it's either a schematic breakdown or a communication breakdown at the very least between Joey Brunk and Race Thompson. So what happens here is there's going to be a ball screen by Joey Brunk's guy. As we've talked about in previous film breakdowns, the way IU guards ball screens is the big hedges, and the roll man is no longer their responsibility for a time being. It's somebody else's. So as I talk about this, we see the ball screen happen. We see Joey Brunk hedges out. The guy that set the screen right now is not Joey Brunk's responsibility. It's actually Race Thompson's responsibility right here. So we see the guy hit the roll man. So as I said, this is a miscommunication to some extent because the way that Joey Brunk makes this look is what we call Xing out. And Xing out means Race Thompson actually ends up guarding this guy here, and Joey Brunk X's out to guard Race Thompson's guy. One way or another, it was a breakdown between these two. I'm not exactly sure how, because Joey Brunk starts going to guard Race Thompson's guy. Race Thompson kind of gets confused and then kind of lunges at this guy late. Joey Brunk went and boxed out. 2 points, though, for Portland State. Next clip here is one of the offensive breakdowns or disconnects that I thought IU had against Portland State throughout most of the game. and that was that Portland State was actually switching everything. They were switching off the ball screens, they were switching on ball screens, which with IU already having quite the size advantage, I didn't think they really established position in the post and really called for that ball when they had these mismatches in the post. Ultimately, what this one led to is I thought Deron Davis had a mismatch in the post. I thought he should have been demanding the basketball. Instead, he's very nonchalant, kind of relaxed. The ball doesn't get thrown into him and ultimately leads in a turnover for IU. So as we see here, Deron Davis is about to set a screen here on this Justin Smith's man, and they're going to switch right here. Right here, I'm calling off whatever set I'm trying to run right now, and I'm putting Deron Davis in the post, and I'm trying to get him the basketball. Ultimately, that's not what happens, obviously. But again, another switch here. Deron Davis, I think, still has a mismatch, but really never gets on the block, never asserts his will. And that's not necessarily saying that's Deron Davis's fault. If the coach tells you to run a set and you're in the set and that's what you're supposed to do, I can't really fault the kid there. However, we see Armaan Franklin drive in, leaves his feet to pass, turnover for IU. So this next play is actually IU recognizing when there was a switch on a big, getting that big to basketball, and ultimately resulting in an and one. I thought Joey Brunk did a really nice job on this play. He sets a down screen, realizes a guard is switched on to him, demands the ball immediately on that guard, ultimately ends up catching it out on the wing, just completely overpowers the guard, catching it from the wing, ultimately gets down to the block, makes a nice little reverse layup for an and one, and we'll see it here. But we see Joey go set this down screen here, immediately recognizes, okay, I got a small guy on me, give me the basketball. Like I said, ultimately ends up catching it out here on the wing, but as soon as he catches it, he knows where he's going with it, just completely overpowers the guard on Portland State, and one. This next play I found really interesting because it was a 12-point game. IU needed a bucket to seal this. And ultimately, Archie Miller saw something with Robert Finney where he thought, okay, I'm going to give him space. I'm going to give him a ball screen, and I'm going to let him create. So we can see this. Finney starts pulling it out. You see Archie. He's literally saying, get four low. Everybody get low. We're giving space. He's saying 5 twists. So that means Joey Brunk's going to come around here, and then he's going to twist at the last second for the screen. And that, like I said, Finney looks to create. Joey Brunk's man set that screen on him. As I've been showing you, Portland State was switching all those screens. That guy wasn't going to be able to stay in front of Finney. 2 points. This play we're going to break down here was the most common action that IU actually ran against Portland State. And really what it is it's very simple action, but IU's got the proper personnel to really make it difficult to guard. And it's pretty much just this diamond set. And all it is Archie Miller is giving Armaan Franklin the opportunity to go either way he wants here off of down screens. Justin Smith and Trayce Jackson-Davis are both going to set down screens here. Armaan Franklin can choose whatever way he wants to go. Whatever way he goes, Jerome Hunter's going to go to the opposite and flare opposite way. And the guy that set the down screen on the ball side is going to turn and post. So we'll see here. Armaan Franklin chooses Trace's side, Trayce posts. Armaan Franklin goes back underneath. He chooses Trace's side again. Trayce posts. We got the Jerome Hunter flare. He catches. He fires. He knocks it down. Here's another time IU ran that exact same action. So we see the little diamond action. We see Armaan Franklin is originally going to come off the right side. Nothing going there. So then he comes off the left side. So we see here, this is kind of what I was talking about with that switching defense. All right, so Armaan Franklin's guy just switched on to Trayce Jackson-Davis. IU absolutely has to find a way to get Trayce Jackson the ball on the block if he's going to have a little guard on him right here. Ultimately, it works out all right. Armaan Franklin has a nice backdoor cut. He makes a great pass to Justin Smith. Justin Smith lays it in for 2. From a defensive perspective, we're going to see another clip here where IU gets kind of caught in a pick and roll. I thought Armaan Franklin kind of got his feet stuck in mud a little bit. And ultimately left the best shooter on the floor wide open, and it kind of got him going. So we see Joey Brunk here. As I've mentioned several times, IU's going to try to hedge this. In an ideal world, I think Archie Miller would like Brunk to hedge a little higher and harder and make this offensive player actually come out higher towards the half court line, but ultimately he kind of strings it out. Now you see Armaan Franklin here. As we've mentioned, he's the tag guy. He's kind of playing two. This is his man in the corner. This is his man, or he's helping Joey Brunk recover to this man right here by kind of trying to take him away. So like I said, he's playing two. He catches the ball here. Armaan Franklin lunges at him. I think Joey Brunk knew this guy was driving. He was willing to kind of absorb him once he came into the lane. Armaan Franklin kind of, like I said, got his feet caught in cement a little bit. But ultimately, you give, I think it was Boo Boo Williams, this much space, he's going to knock down that shot. So Armaan Franklin, it takes way too long to recover there if you're 15 feet from the guy. That's a three-point basket. And ultimately, that got him going, like I said, for Portland State. I note here with our final clip for the Hoosiers, and it's actually defense turning into offense, which is exactly what Archie Miller wants to see. A few things I want to point out in this. I think Trace does a really nice job of moving his feet. On his block, he pretty much stays straight up. He gets the basketball. Then he makes a great outlet pass. IU did a nice job of getting in the outlet lanes. I mean, everything about this play right here was exactly what Archie probably wants this team's identity to be. You see Trace, like I said, he moves his feet. Guy makes a nice move. Trace blocks it, but then he makes a nice outlet pass to Armaan Franklin. Armaan corrals it, one dribble, and a layup for IU. Whereas Portland State probably thought they had an opportunity at 2 points here. Instead, within just seconds, IU's got 2 points their way. And that'll wrap us up here for this edition of the IU Film Room. As I said, wasn't a perfect performance by any means from IU. From an offensive standpoint, did not run a lot of different actions. Part of that is because Portland State pressed. IU was out in transition a lot. Part of that is probably by design from Archie, probably being pretty vanilla on films thus far, not trying to give away too much from an offensive standpoint. And ultimately, I think why we're really not seeing a lot from IU on the offensive side of the ball in terms of set plays and things like that is that the focus has probably been on defense in practice. IU and Archie Miller want to make sure that a lot of these new guys and these freshmen really understand the defensive identity that Archie wants to build here at Indiana. So I do think that we'll see some more things down the line. Like I said, a multitude of factors in this game, while we probably didn't see as much from an offensive standpoint in terms of sets, that we'll probably see down the line against more half-court defenses. But yeah, again, as always, I appreciate you watching. I know these videos are a little longer, but in order to do some proper analysis and some proper breakdown, that's just the nature of it. But as always, I appreciate the feedback, whether positive or negative or anything that you'd like to see. I really enjoy doing these. And so definitely appreciate all the feedback, positive, negative, all that good stuff. For the IU Film Room breakdown, I'm signing off for now. Tony Adranya here, at Coach Adranya on Twitter. Thanks for watching.